It should be. You have to push go live. You can't just put start streaming. You have to then say go live. I'll start and then turn it over. Let's see here. Yep, we're good. Okay. All right. I'll start. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Yeah, because you introduce yourself.
All right, thank you all for coming to the Trails Committee meeting here at Sparta Township in the Chambers at 7 p.m. It's 7:04. We're officially starting. First time we're going to be live streamed as well. And there was notice provided also to the public through Tap into Sparta and our Sparta website. So I just want to introduce myself as Landon Tanieri, Sparta Township Trails Committee chairperson. And we're going to go into our agenda we have. We had limited copies, so I apologize. Maybe we can share some of those as well. But I'll ask our secretary, Ann, to maybe go through our, if you have the roll call. Yes. Here.
Okay. Neil Clark,
Here.
Doug Dykstra,
Here.
Ann Lopuck here, Landon Tanieri,
Here.
Christy Whitehouse, Brad Carlson,
Here.
Christine Dunbar,
Here.
Connor Sokol, Jeff Wolf,
Here.
and Ann Sears.
Great. Thank you. We have quorum, and then we're going to kind of get into what everybody's here for. So, Neil, maybe just start.
Sure, I'll kick us off. I want to thank everyone for coming. First, I want to thank our township staff who made this possible. Normally, we're meeting in the conference room because, as folks know, this is just simply an advisory committee. Like, we don't have any governing authority here. So we simply advise the council on issues related to trails. So we don't have any decision-making authority here. So that's why we're normally in the conference room. So it's our first foray into the courtroom. But we wanted to do that to accommodate, but that wasn't possible without the great staff that we have, teaching me how to work the streaming machine, which I didn't know how to do until tonight. But anyway, I'm very thankful for them. I'm glad people are out here. I think before we begin, I first want to just apologize. I think there was confusion over what we're doing here, and that confusion, the blame should be directed at me and not at anyone in this Trails staff. We have fabulous people on our Trails committee, committed people, and I get where there was confusion, right? That people, they look out their back door, and 1 minute it looks like the same backyard they already had. They come home, they see a stake in the ground, they hear about conveyance, and they like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I get it. And I think that's a teaching moment for me, and we will endeavor to do a better job with communicating. But I do want to make clear, no land has been conveyed to Sparta Township, and Sparta Township has not conveyed any land to anyone. So I'll repeat that. No land has been conveyed by Sparta Township, and no land has been conveyed to Sparta. And so that, just to clear that up. And I also understand the kind of confusion that folks may have when they hear the state, and that gives people pause. People who've lived here had to live through the Sparta Mountain issue, and so when they hear the state, that sometimes the state may not be the greatest steward of open space. But I think, hopefully what you'll get from tonight is that the New Jersey Land Trust is going to be a good steward if we go down that process that we're just really kind of beginning. Because again, what is the New Jersey Land Trust mission? What is their mission? Their mission is to preserve land in its natural state for enjoyment by the public and to protect natural diversity through acquisition of open space. Now, Doug is here and he'll explain more about the land that we're proposing to convey to the New Jersey Land Trust and that whole process. And he'll also, explain the middle school to high school trail concept overall, but really focusing on what we're, the particular phase that we're under right now. But I think I'm really excited about this endeavor that we're doing. And why is that? Well, I think trails is something that comes up all the time when we survey the people of Sparta. What do you want? We want open space, we want trails, and so, that is the genesis of this committee. I think we all just lived through the Sussex County had a question on the ballot this year about preserving open space. By a 4-to-1 margin, that won. So the way I look at this is we're trying to fulfill what we see as a mandate. And I think that's what kind of drives me, kind of impatiently, to be honest, because I see it and I want to get it done, and probably my own impatience sometimes may, get in the way of some of the, nitty-gritty details and bringing the public along. But I really want the public along with this. I really do. And I think after tonight, I think we can, put people's concerns to bed and get behind something that we think is going to be fantastic for the community. I'm really happy about it. I'm very lucky to have the people that we have on here. And it's this guy over here who helped me with the idea when he was just a DECA student doing DECA at Sparta High School, who had mapped every single abandoned trail line in the entire county and was like, Neil, we have 30-some miles of abandoned trail in here, and we have 6 miles of it in Sparta. We should do something about that. And I thought it was such a brilliant idea, and he's done a ton of work. We have Christine Dunbar, who's been an environmental teacher for decades, also done a ton of work on open space and protecting our natural resource. We have Ann, you've been with the rec committee for a long time. We have Brad, who's a scout leader, who has, kids in the middle school. And we have Jeff Wolf, who's been involved in trails, and of course Doug and his professional background. So Sparta's really lucky to have the talent that we have on this committee. As someone who has to put together committees all the time, we are very fortunate in Sparta that we have very smart, engaged people, and I'm really lucky to have them. So I look forward to it. But I think the best thing to do is to kick it off to Doug, and you can help walk people through kind of what this trail is, what the kind of phase we're going through right now, and and then we'll take, after he's done the presentation or whatever, we will give the public an opportunity to ask questions. So, go for it.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. Can everybody see okay, or would you like to?
No, I guess I could. Yeah, I'll get you.
Do that. I'll go back and forth. Okay, so I'm going to explain basically the land swap, which seems to be the source of all this confusion. What Sparta Township wants to do is acquire a portion of tax lot 10, which belongs to the New Jersey Natural Lands Trust. Okay, that's located off of Route 517 at the corner of West Mountain Road. Okay, West Mountain Road, 517. The portion of this lot that we'd like to acquire, you really can't see it, didn't print very well, but there's a line in here that goes along the wetland buffer, 150 feet off this wetland line. Okay, so we will acquire all upland, not wetland. The Natural Land Trusts, in order to convey land, need to do it via compensation. In other words, we're giving them 5 point, what do I have here? 5.6 acres. In exchange, we have to give them 28. It's a 5-to-1 ratio. Okay, so we're acquiring 5.2 acres of upland in exchange for, so everyone's familiar with where we are? I'm switching the page. There'll be 3 compensation areas, okay? The first
Can you explain to people why the ratio between, that we have to give X number of acres over to receive the 5 acres?
That's the process to acquire land from the state that's in conservation. We're doing the same thing with the landfill, as you know. 17 to 1.
17 times.
Yeah.
the amount of
Did-
land that
Yep, yep.
Here we're talking
5.2. So it equals 28. Yeah, I tried. I started with 1 to 1. Didn't work. So 5 to 1 is their minimum. Okay, that's the best they'll do. All right, so we know what we're acquiring. Now I'll go through the compensation parcel. That's, I don't have enough hands to do all that. All right, then I can try the mic. This is not gonna. All right. All right, so on to the compensation parcels. Let me get you located again. Here's a Sparta High School football field. Here's a Sparta High School track. There's a piece of 517 right there. The intersection would be somewhere near where my hand is. It's a piece of open space on the northwesterly side of the Walk Hill River. I'm gonna outline it for you. There it is. And that area is 4.93 acres. Okay, everyone clear? Just highlighting this with some, not perfect, but those are bog symbols. This is a complete wetland. Muck boots required, okay? On to the next parcel. So I call that compensation parcel A. Okay. Compensation parcel B. This is the Sparta Township Ogdensburg line. This is Conklin Lumber, right here. Conklin Lumber. Blue Ridge Lumber. Blue Ridge Lumber. Yes, I did. Okay, so Blue Ridge Lumber, the big wetland, the Walk Hill River, open space belonging to Sparta that they're giving to the Natural Land Trust under a different, that's the landfill compensation area. And they requested this piece. It's off of Cedar, this is Cedar Drive, Old Cedar Drive. Okay, and Millstone. All right. I'm glad we have people here to help. This parcel is 8.93 acres. It too is this is a wooded wetland, by the way. It's marshy, but you can walk through here. And you can get back to here, and somewhere in this area you been back there? Yeah. It's limited, but it's still technically a wetland, non-developable land. No question. Okay, on to the last parcel. This is compensation parcel C, 14.577 acres. This is Greenfield Hill Drive off of West Mountain Road. Everyone got that? Okay. It was their open space, subdivision open space dedication to Sparta Township. But in this instance, they're only taking, and I set that area to equal exactly 14.577 acres, so the total would be 28, an exact 5-to-1 exchange. Okay? So that explains the process of acquiring the land for the first trail this committee decided to go after, which is that starts at Station Park, will traverse across this lot, basically holding grade. Like it's not gonna go up and down, keep it as level as possible and terminate right there. and then use the bike lanes out there to connect to the parking lot back through Station Park. We have a loop system. It's much bigger fish to fry, but that's next.
What we're gonna do,
I
I
didn't-
think
I
we
didn't
will
represent
reserve the
that, but-
questions till later, because otherwise the organization of the meeting will fall apart. So if people can just hold their questions, we will give opportunity. And I think, Doug, it may be helpful to explain like where this fits in into the overall, if we can pull this off and do the other phases of the trail, how does that part link up with the middle school to high school trail that we want to do? Why is this portion necessary?
Okay, let me, the land swap is needed to do this stretch of trail. Without the land swap, this is gone. This is gone. Okay? As a committee, we decided this was something to go after. I went down and negotiated the deal with the Natural Lands Trust. Through these efforts, some mapping and some meetings with them, and came up with a concept that they voted on and agreed to. That's why I came to the town council to get their nod on a concept, at which time we can start working toward a contract. I think we got some time before we get to that contract, probably at least a year.
By Old Cedar, that backs up to another piece of land that we've already swapped. okay?
In the process of.
They have a bigger chunk of land right there that Jersey's gonna own.
I can show you on,
I'm just saying it's bigger now, than what they had, now we're just making a bigger parcel for them. to do something.
It
do
unites
something
the two
with.
preserves.
Yeah, let me get to that.
The state of New Jersey and the New Jersey Natural Land Trust, so that's clear to everybody who's setting the land, how that.
Okay, New Jersey DEP has wildlife management areas, state parks. Natural Land Trust is one of those. Say that again? Agency. So,
Your board, they are a
Yeah.
503C.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So I would say the state of New Jersey, I just want to be clear, it's not simply the state of New Jersey.
It's good, because it's not the same group that has Sparta Direct.
Correct.
Right. Yeah, it's not.
To be
And they got a different mission
Just to
statement.
clarify, so the New Jersey Natural Land Trust was created in 1968 by the New Jersey legislature as an independent agency in but not of the Division of Parks and Forestry in the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. So its mission is to preserve land in its natural state for the enjoyment by the public and to protect natural diversity through the acquisition of open space. The trust acquires open space primarily by donations of land and public and easements. In creating the trust, the legislator's goal was to establish an agency with the protective power of the state that would have the support of the private sector open space preservation and conservation organizations. The trust autonomy is a key factor in garnering the confidence of individuals' interest in preserving their land and that of the conservation community. That's the intention of at least the organization, just for some background. It's one of the many agencies that our state has created, so it's inherently complicated for everybody just because they're always doing so many things.
Something to that. Hi there, this is Chris Dunbar. I had an extensive conversation with the gentleman from New Jersey Natural Lands Trust. He's a wonderful person. He says that they are a part of NJDEP, but they are not of them, they are in them. And I said, well, what are you going to be doing with this land? He says, well, I'm primarily concerned with biodiversity and endangered species and turtles. He wouldn't tell me what type, because some people go into areas if it's a rare turtle and they collect. So, and they discourage trails, I will say. And I said, well, are you going to be logging? And he said, well, there's very little to log, but we don't do that at all. The most we will be doing, if we see this wetland, the process of succession happens and wetland turns into a forest through time. We want to be able to go in there sometimes and allow more sunlight to come in because the turtles bask in the sun. So that was his, explanation of what he is doing, and he is passionate. I don't know whether he's a one-man show. They probably only staff by a couple of people there. And I do have a copy of the original bill, the state bill that created the New Jersey Natural Lands Trust, if anyone would care to read that. Thank you.
Okay, what I'd like to add is everyone's concerned about what the state might do, their stewardship, how they're going to handle the property. I brought the existing deeds into Sparta Township, one from Phil Deacon to the Township of Sparta. I'll pass it around. There it is. There's no protections in there. Township owns it. They can do what they want with it. It's a governing body. You have no control. Here's another one from Deacon Homes to Sparta Township. Same thing. No restrictions. Oh, that would be anybody's, right? And then Greenfield Hill, same thing. It's just a very plain cookie cutter open space dedication. They're all residential zone. Yeah, it's RR, I'm pretty sure. But here's the point. We have an opportunity when you turn this land over to the state to dictate the restrictions that go into that deed. Things like people are concerned about clear cutting, we can put that in there. They might push back. And the same thing, they're going to try to put like limitations on what we can do with our trail. So we're going to make sure that kind of language gets in there. They're going to push from their side to have more, it'll be a back and forth, but we can certainly restrict it from clear cutting.
Yeah, Doug, it may be helpful at this point to explain how that process works. I think there was confusion about that the land had been, it was a done deal. There was none of, the contract was signed. I think that was an impression that I think people had. Can you explain a little bit of how that process works? That, we essentially are negotiating a contract with, and what the resolution that we attempted to do 2 weeks ago was simply to allow us to begin the negotiation process. It did not set the terms of what those would be. Those would all get hammered out in that. And I think that, we would make clear, knowing what the felt needs of the community are. And before we could sign the contract, everyone in the public would know what was in it. Because we'd have to vote on it as members of town council. We'd have to publish it in the agenda, and people could see the terms and conditions of it. But we were trying to do 2 weeks ago was simply to start that. There was no contract actually done or nothing to agree to yet.
Yeah, so the Natural Land Trust, basically, when I went to that meeting, agreed to a concept. That concept was brought to the town council. If we get the town council's blessing, then I'll pursue it further and start putting accurate surveys together. We'll draft up some contracts, we'll get them back and forth, and we'll start having a meeting of the minds so we can actually go to closing at some point. But I'm not going to go any further with this unless the council's on board. Put it in, do we even have a conservation zone?
That's a very good point for the master plan folks. So, yeah, I mean, that's something that I think is the planning board is going to be looking at all the zones and figuring out not only the uses that are allowed in the zone, but even probably some of what, what zoning would be there. But, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But regardless of the zoning, it still has to meet the DEP wetland regulations, which in this case, the buffers would expand into the development at this point. Yeah.
And just to be clear, because there was also some confusion about the survey. Like, you haven't done a survey yet, right?
I happen to have surveyed so much land out there over the years that by compiling my existing work, I was able to get a pretty good handle on where these boundaries are. but they're not final by any measure. No. We did the subdivision of Cedar Brook. We did the subdivision of Greenfield. We did open space acquisition over here. We did an open space acquisition. Pope John used to own a huge tract over here. We did that one. There was another project called the GAD project, another like 70 or 80 acre parcel. Boom, I got some, putting this last piece of the puzzle together was not magic. I combined a bunch of existing surveys to come up with some pretty good concepts, accurate. Not, no, I'm not, they say draft. Yes,
When you say concept or draft, I don't expect to see stakes in the ground on or near our property. So on October 10th, your team was there and left stakes in a location that I think is on my property.
yeah, they marked, which lot were you?
So I am, 1 Millstone, it's the corner of Millstone and Old Cedar, correct?
We found that corner.
So
We
there-
found that corner.
So I saw the flags in the back, I'm not concerned about the inside corner, but along Old Cedar, there seems to be 2 flags that are noted. One is a post that says corner of lot, and the next is a flag that is equal or adjacent to our permanent marker that was installed by our surveyor. So it's about a 30-foot difference between those 2 flags, between what is marked corner of lot and where the next flag is at what we think is the end of the property. I have been trying unsuccessfully since the council meeting to find out the coordinates of your surveyor's information so that I can have my surveyor review it and we can put aside any boundary issue. But
Okay.
I hit every roadblock and every speed
Did
bump.
you call our office?
I called there twice. Judy told me that
Oh,
I
she
could go to planning. They told me I didn't pay for the survey, so I can't have it. They told me I had to go to planning at the town. I called planning at the town. They forwarded me to Mr. Zepp. Michelle said that there's this map on the DEP website. I have that map. I just literally want the coordinates of one single boundary of the property. I have been passed around the office. I was told to wait for a response from Mr. Dash. I didn't get one. I Oprah'd it because I didn't know what else to do. My Oprah request was answered in a timely manner by Emily King. But when I called back to say, okay, is there somewhere I can get this? I can't get it
I
from your
can't believe-
office. I
okay,
can't get it
I'm
from the
sorry.
town. And I was told to wait for a response from the town attorney, that it was still within the timeline of the Oprah request. I don't know what the timeline is. I've never
Yeah.
done an Oprah.
Yeah, I think you have to be very specific. I think 2 things we should probably ask. One is, when we think of surveys, you have a different understanding of what a survey that would go before the New Jersey Land Trust. Have you prepared that type of survey that you feel, okay, you haven't done that?
No, I haven't evaluated the data they collected that day yet.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to go through the effort until I expected the council to be voting that
Okay.
night. So I was getting a jump on the work. But
and
now, once they didn't vote, I'm like, that goes on the back burner.
You're volunteering your time and you're not going to put forward the effort to do this until they say, like, we have a green
But
light.
I promise you, tomorrow, I'll have a look at your lot, I'll look at what they found out there, and I'll email it to you.
And then,
Greatly
And I
appreciate that.
apologize for the screening we have at our office, that's crazy.
So there was
That's crazy, like,
several.
couldn't get through to me?
No.
but,
I
yeah,
can't get through to you. I can't get through to you. There is like a stockade of people that, I said to you at the council meeting, I asked simply to table it until we had more information. I also spoke to the gentleman at the Land Trust. He is a wealth of information and a steward of the trust. And I
Oh, he's
would love
great.
to see him come in and speak at the Environmental Commission. He was unbelievable. He had so much information to give. But there have just been so many things that have changed since the council meeting, or things that were contradictory, that lead the public to be very apprehensive to just get on board. And I said to you that night, it could be something I could totally get behind and be on board and be supportive of, but not until we have more information. And something as simple as a boundary issue should just be like, that should have been like,
well, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna speak now like a lawyer, and it's gonna annoy the hell out of you. I apologize. Here's the thing, is the survey, because one, I think, Doug, am I right that when we get to the survey process, we want to make triple sure that what we are conveying to the New Jersey Land Trust does not include anyone's property, right? We have to make.
Absolutely will.
Yeah, and so, and would someone like Ms. Rogoff have the ability to look at our survey when the actual survey is done, look at it, compare it to what she has, and be like, hey, wait a minute, this isn't matching up? Would she be able to have that opportunity to do that?
Yeah, and you're gonna have you're gonna have the confidence tomorrow.
I mean,
There'll be no gray area
The
whatsoever.
original survey that was submitted to town was done by
By-
your company.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm like, I can't imagine that, one of them is right, they were both done by.
Yeah, I think it's just a mislabeled stake, I guess.
It could very well be, and it seems like that would be something so easy to take care of, so I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and I think too, like so what your folks did when they came out and Ms. Rogoff saw them on her property, that information, has that been turned into an actual, what you would call a survey? Has that happened yet?
No, we collected the data. We
Okay.
collected the data, then I held off because there was no vote.
Okay.
That night, and so I'm not gonna put the effort forth in vain. If it never gets voted forward, I'm not gonna waste my time.
Okay. Okay, yeah, and I think which is completely understandable. I get it. You don't want us giving away land that may not even be, and we don't want to give away land that doesn't belong to us either. That's going to be a headache for us. And so please know that, that we will make sure we'll know what the mets and bounds of the property, and we'll give the public an opportunity to look how it's described. We don't have that actual data based on, he just did it 2 weeks ago or whatever and hasn't obviously pushed through, because that's a whole nother, that's going to be part of the negotiation process with the New Jersey Land Trust if we can get there. But yeah, just we will make sure that the affected property owners, those who are adjacent to the conveyed land, can see how we're describing the conveyed land and make sure, and then maybe compare it with your own, what you think is your property line. And then you will tell us, you'll like, hey, I think you're off by 10 feet or, however much it is, 30 feet, whatever it is you think. Yeah, whatever it is. We want to get it right. We really do. We don't have any interest in.
They'll post it. Eventually, they'll post it once they take title to it. The New Jersey Natural Land Trust, it'll be like a triangle shape or a square posting, like you would typically post property with. They call it blaze the line. It's not gonna say no trespass. It'll say, it's open to the public.
And that's on kind of hallmarks back to what this committee was trying to address just in general with focusing on our township and trying to maximize what we have here. And especially I have this map here of other trails that the county has advertised exist in Sparta Township. And I saw some people say that we do have some state trails and other trails in the township, like the Ogden Mine Trail and the Pauliskin Valley Trail, but the Pauliskin Valley Trail terminates in Andover. It does not terminate in Sparta. The Ogden Mine Railroad terminates in Jefferson. It does not officially start or end in Sparta Township. So there's some major gaps that you as taxpayers are under the assumption that you actually have the ability to use. And during COVID, I was told, hey, I can go use this state park just down the road from my home. And when I went there, just like Manager Zepp, when he was at the DPW, so many hikers and bikers went there under the assumption that this was your state trail, and it was never complete. And that got this project and all of this on my heart because I don't want to see it left any longer, and I wanted to improve my community and leave it better for the next generation when it comes. So I am hopeful that this can just be the start of many projects that this county and township can really benefit from, and even just educating people in our municipality about the great open spaces that already exist. One of our major goals is actually just mapping the trails in our municipality and advertising that. Going forward, this committee is going to have much better communication with everything that's going on. We're going to have a website clear with all the data available. We want to be transparent and not leave anybody confused or felt like that they are being overlooked. Your concerns are valid and heard, and we are all here together as a community. This is a board made up of everybody in the township, and we are always looking for new members as well. and we are wanting to build together and get everybody involved. And frankly, I've been involved in the zoning board and environmental commission, and this is one of the most packed meetings I've been at, attendance-wise. And it's sad because we have those biweekly meetings, and I would love to have more people attend, but thank you all for coming. Truly, it shows that you do actually have a real care in this municipality and want to see this township grow. And I do see you have a question, sir. Yes, he was asking about the cross benefit.
They want to know why we decided to start, I mean, yeah, start with the middle school to high school trail and not, yeah. No, I mean, no, I think part of it was that it was, something that I've, Brad can probably speak to this as a middle school parent. I can speak to it. A lot of people have said, why can't we have access between the middle school and the high school? And when you do a project like this, you have to start with somewhere, even though, the trail itself, the idea was from the middle school to the high school. This is just one particular phase. And why did we pick that phase that we're talking about tonight? Why did we decide to do that one first? I think that may help people instead of, the other parts.
Basically, it required the most work, and it starts and dies with the Lands Conservancy, not the Land Conservancy, Natural Lands Trust. We don't get their permission for the land, it's over. So what's the point in planning other segments if we can't even get the thing off the ground? Oh, I got a lot of them.
We have the
But
we have the open
when
space.
when I can, if I have a deliverable, something I can present and say this is feasible.
Technically, they can involve cost-benefit analysis, which takes monetary comparisons with projects, say project A, project B, project C, project D, and so forth. And I'm not trying to be negative on this project. I'm just trying to understand why we chose this. The 1-minute version of it.
Doug, I think you can mention how we are actively looking at 2 other projects as well, but just because of the structure of how those projects worked and with the county and other agencies, it's those actually, even though seemingly seem like low-hanging fruit, were actually a lot difficult.
They're tough. Yeah. It's a fair point. I think, yeah, I mean, I think with this one, we knew if we could get the land trust portion of it, there's still some, logistical things that have to, but with these other trails, there's, the county owns some of it. There's a private property owner on it. So those look more logistically difficult. And so we're trying to do those almost simultaneously, but it's very hard. But this is the reason why we chose this one first was sort of, it was the consensus of this committee to that one. This one seemed the most feasible to start with, plus the felt need of the people saying we would really want a middle school to high school trail. I think that was, whereas there are some trails in Sparta. This would simply, if we do what the map says, we'd be able to extend trails that currently exist and make them more traversable. But this one would be a whole new trail, right? This is new. This is adding what we thought was a significant benefit to the community. And so that's why we kind of prioritize the middle school to high school along with these other. But that's not to say we're not trying to look at those and we're just putting them up on the shelf. We're definitely going to work with those. And as we have steps along the way that we can actually are an execution step. The reason why this became public and because now we're at an execution step. It doesn't make sense to, if we're not at the execution step, there's not much we can do. So we were at the execution step and that's why it came public. Yeah.
Again, I'll pursue it on my own, so later directly to other entities.
I mean, I will say in discussions I've had with, the cross-country coach at the high school and teachers at the middle school about this trail and other parents with middle school students. This trail, I think, serves the greater good of Sparta than a lot of other trails that might serve hikers or runners that maybe want to be on the outskirts of town. This is in the center of town. It supports kids in both schools that go back and forth, the cross-country team. And then any of you that, that want to get somewhere central in town, this had the greater good. If you look at, what trails, this trail had a lot of purposes. And I think for me, that was a no-brainer. And you talk to people involved in that, involved at the cross-country program, the high school, the middle school. This is a need. I had to pick my kid up every day for about a month and a half last year to drive him. Yeah. Yeah.
Not against this.
Yeah. Good.
And for the two other major projects we were looking at, we're a municipal committee here trying to fill the gap left behind by the state government that proposed and put on all the groundwork for these projects that get done, specifically these rails to trails that were supposed to be state trails that are now owned by the county, which our county only has one county park in Newton Green. And that has been an uphill battle for sure to persevere and get the support of the county and also the state with all of their consistent shiftings at the DEP to actually have interest in getting back in these projects that they put on paper, put their word and support behind back in 2005, 2010, and never manifested. So it's difficult as a municipal committee to try to fill that gap, but it's something that we've been trying to do based on that open space committee passed by the town council that highlighted a lot of recommendations built off of the survey done by the general public. But there are certainly major projects that we're really trying to focus on as well. Yeah, I think we can start. We're going to do a bit of a question and answer. We can just probably have, if anyone wants to. Yeah, I think.
So one of the biggest issues that's causing confusion is the constant shifting back and forth. Is this a trail, as you first presented very nicely, that is going to go from the West Mountain to the Station Park and back and forth? And that's what this land swap is about. Or is it the high school, middle school trail? So, but you keep using language that says the high school, middle school trail. And I understand that might be something in the future, but this is causing a lot of confusion with the people that are sitting here. So if we could just stick to one plan and explain that to the end, and then explain what's maybe next and what's after that, instead of switching what we keep calling things, it will make things a lot clearer.
Yeah, I think, why is that one? I think that was my first question. This is part of, because if you look at the trail itself, look.
Here's the overall package, is to go from here to here. This involves a natural land trust. That's why I tackled this first, because I had to get their permission.
Is
Next
this the
step,
map that
next
you
step is
posted
getting through
online?
a federal easement over here. That's a bigger hurdle. And actually, this is misdrawn. I met Mr. Earl out there, we go like that.
So when we're talking
And
specific,
there's the middle school.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but when we're talking specifically about the resolution that's in front of town council, which is what I think everybody is here about, as well as the survey stakes in the ground and all of that, we're only talking about this.
Correct.
And so if we keep talking about this interchangeably in the same conversation, you need to stop that because you're confusing people and you're making people think that you're either trying to get one over or something's hidden. So this is the resolution, this is the land swap, this is a wannabe maybe next step,
Yeah, working hard on it.
right? Okay.
Working hard on it.
Thank you.
But let me ask you a
Thank you,
question.
Jenny.
Is there additional land swap required if you want to extend it
No,
down to the middle school?
But
No.
can you?
not that,
And can you?
not at this point.
The question was, is there an additional land swap that would be necessary to complete the other portion, which is the other side of West Mountain to the middle school?
It won't be a land swap.
It won't be a land swap, but there's a significant issue there that I think that you can explain.
If anybody has any further questions, can
It's
we
just-
please
it's,
use the microphone?
USDA, federal lands, have an easement, well, I'm going to have to get a lease over. It's complicated. I think we leave it at that until I have real answers for you. Yes.
Can you use the microphone, please? I'm sorry.
I can say in 6 months or so, we should have answers on the middle school to West Mountain Road connection. At this point, best left alone.
The middle school to
You gotta so people at home can hear
the
you.
middle school to the high school is my concern. And when you were at the town council meeting, that's where you said you wanted to put the trail. Here's my concern. That swamp down in there is loaded with bears. And until somebody can say, we're going to have security between the middle school and the high school, we got a problem. A real problem, because there's a fair amount of bear down in that swamp. I've hunted around this town all my life, so I pretty much know where things are. The other thing too is there any way, Doug, that you can find property to swap that doesn't back up behind people's homes? Because once this is turned over to the state of New Jersey, conservatory, whatever you want to call this thing, the public has the right to go on that property. So you folks really don't know what's going to be in your backyard. You have no clue. Anybody can go on that property. It's now public property.
They can now.
Well, yeah, but once the state opens it up and says it's public state property, it's like Green Acres land, they're free to go. And my other question is, do we have to use this land to swap, or can we find other land?
These have the environmental aspects that the state is looking for. They don't want upland, they want
Swampland.
swampland, quality swampland.
Okay, what about all the parcels out on Route 15, like the corner of Demarest Road and Route 15? That's all swamp down, all the way down to Walt Tanis's old house. Then there's,
That's all private.
no, it's township-owned property.
Township owned okay, well.
Yeah, it's township. I looked at the maps.
They didn't, they sent me a map of possibilities. to do
Okay,
so.
all right, that answers my question. They sent you the
They
map.
chose the one that said, you can pick these.
That
We
answers
don't
the
want-
question.
We don't want this, we don't want that.
Yeah,
Other
yeah.
Suggestions.
But that's also, though, just, there's a reason why they sent what they sent, right? Because there's currently the Sterling Hill Preserve that the New
Right,
Jersey
yeah.
Land Trust already has, and then the Walk Hill Preserve. And so what this does, I understand the rationale that they went through, which is, this would add what I would say contiguity to, now they have more contiguous land that's part of the Sterling Hill, part of the Walk Hill. So that's why they wanted that particular, whereas if you tell them, go get this property way out in 15 and Demarest, they're like, why would I want that? We don't even have preserved over there.
Well, there's a trail that goes through there, Railroad Trail.
Yeah,
That's what
well, I'm saying, but the New Jersey, the reason, I think your question was why did the New Jersey Land Trust pick what they picked? I think it makes sense because, hey, we want to make sure the Sterling Hill and the Walk Hill Preserve have more land to it. It didn't make sense that Sparta owns this patch, you know, and then the New Jersey Land Trust owns this patch. Now we're going to have the New Jersey Land Trust will own all those patches if this goes through.
Well, the only thing I'm against is it's in behind those houses. I think if we could find a better piece of property and protect these people, I think everybody'd be happy, me included. Because it's just, would you like people walking in your backyard?
I mean, the thing is, they could do that now,
They don't though. Because
Why
it's
don't they?
township-owned property.
but we don't have, there's no prohibition right now, and it's, and I think
Unless you're a resident of Sparta Township, you can't use the Sparta Township, Glenn. And it's pretty much the same way for all township property. You can't have people just go use the parks and stuff in town or the ball fields because
I
they're
think
not
you
from
can.
Sparta.
There's nothing we can do to prohibit someone from Andover coming to the station park.
Well,
And so, I think it's my,
my concern is, times have changed in Sussex County. Let's face the facts of life. And Route 15, before the 15 was here, nobody came to Sparta. Now they rob houses in Sparta, bust into houses in Lafayette. They're on Route 15 and gone in 5 minutes. There's no way we can catch them. And I have a concern there. That's a very remote area in this town. You know, that's my concern. That's my only concern.
Good.
Thank you.
thank you.
So I don't want to hold it though. But I'm probably too short for this. Okay. So one of the things that I had mentioned based on the map that you had posted was the potential of another crossing of West Mountain Road closer to the intersection with 517. And that is a concern as a resident who deals with the traffic at drop off and pickup. I commiserate with you having to drop off or pick up at one school or the other. You know, if I leave work 5 minutes late, I'm stuck in 20 minutes of traffic at the high school. So I'm someone who lives that traffic every day. As it stands now, the students who use those upper fields, they traverse down West Mountain on the same side as the middle school and the stadium. And as it stands now, they don't even have a protected walkway. So if there's funds available, I would see it used there. But now you're introducing traffic on the other side because Mr. Dykstra just outlined this is a loop. So now you've got people on both shoulders. So in the afternoon, you're thinking someone's going to exercise and ride their bike or run and be on the bike side of West Mountain. And now you've got the kids going back and forth to use the fields. That just is a recipe for disaster. When I was here, I had actually, after, I think you actually caught us during the break at the council meeting, that the chief of police so very kindly shared with me the traffic survey. He said it's only 1% of the accidents, of the total number of accidents that occur in Sparta occur at that intersection, but that's scary. So that is definitely a concern, would be then traffic on the side of both sides of West Mountain Road, in addition to the traffic there. That's definitely a concern. Do we have any estimated costs of this? So we're only talking about this section of the trail now. Do we have any estimation at any point? I don't know who that would be.
Not at this point, because yeah, go ahead.
We haven't gotten to estimates yet, and I've
curious.
got some plans in my head on what to do with West Mountain Road. Meet with the town engineer and spitball a little bit. But until we have a reason.
Well, I mean,
I'm not gonna
there,
put the effort.
yeah, there is a reason definitely for the kids. I would love to see the
No, no,
kids
no,
not on
I-
West Mountain.
this-
That's there now.
Yeah.
This study is gonna we're gonna get this concept to the next level. We're gonna go on to do the leg from the middle school to West Mountain Road, and then the connection to the high school. All of that has to be addressed before a shovel goes in the ground.
All that has to be addressed. I think some of the confusion with the language that was used is that October 3rd, you know, the New Jersey Land Trust unanimously agreed to accept the land that Sparta gave them, was the word that you used. So I think that made it sound like you gave them land. So that was, I think, part of the confusion with why people believe that this conveyance was further along. And the language in the resolution also kind of lent itself to, this isn't starting the discussion, because I did speak to the preserve manager. He was phenomenal, but he's like, we're unanimously approved. We're just waiting for deed conveyance. As far as their side, this is a done deal. They're just waiting for deed conveyance. So that, to someone who doesn't know about lands or zoning or building, that sounds like it's pretty far along. So that's why I did bring my concerns to the Environmental Commission as well. And a couple members there sounded like they didn't realize where it was in the process either. So I did ask for their input on this as well at this point. You know, the preserve manager, he was very upfront, and he didn't tell me the kind of turtle either. But he said it was owls, bats, turtles, bobcats. There was quite a few. And he described the difference in the land. The land that they would be giving to Sparta was ecologically depleted, non-desirable real estate, the 5 acres. And that the 28 acres was ecologically rich, filled with species that they would love to investigate. And so that's how he kind of described the thing. And for anyone who asked about the 5-to-1, that's in their guidelines as well. That's clearly defined. Yeah, and the other question I had was, regardless of what we call it and where it goes to and where it ends, there was a significant amount of time from when you presented this initially to the land trust and went back and had this vote and everything. And then we went to the council meeting. And then after all of that, the school board made a public statement. So can you address that to the group too? Because they said they were not on board for use of their land at this time for this endeavor.
Yeah, for this part of it, the part that the Sparta Township owns, the school board doesn't have, they don't own that land. So that's why, but we've had a meeting with members of the school board. But for this particular phase of it, we're not there yet. Yeah, we're not there yet. Of course, when it involves school property, we will most certainly have the school board involved in that, you know, because we don't have jurisdiction really to do anything with their property. So that's why I think the confusion was this property itself doesn't necessarily involve, we're taking Sparta Township property that we own, not the school, and proposing that we convey it to that. Now, for the larger project, the larger parts of the trail that will involve the school, of course, we are most definitely going to include them. So that's, and they know that. And so we will, you know, as we move hopefully to the next phase of this, which does involve the school board, we will most certainly bring them in.
Okay, I mean, I think that had something to do with the whole middle school to high school trail, when you're talking about two school buildings, and then the school board comes out and says, we're not a part of this, we don't give permission for this, that also leads to another, you know, we want to be able to trust everyone sitting up there, and there's just been a lot of contradictions that lead people to believe that not everybody's been 100% trustworthy. And in talking about the next section, can you go a little bit more in detail
I do
about
want
the
to
federal
address that at the
easement?
beginning, though. I think I acknowledged it. You know, when you say something's not trustworthy, you're implying a degree of intentionality. There's no intent here to try to mislead anyone. Now, we try to be as communicative as possible. You know, I acknowledged at the beginning, and even Landon picked up on it, that we could be better. But, and I understand people's natural mistrustworthiness, right? I get it. Like, you know, 2 years ago, people had, you know, all of a sudden an ordinance pops up that no one had ever heard of, right? I get it, and I understand, you know, and you would think I would, of anyone, would understand that, and I get it, Jen, I get it, and you know, but please know that there was no intentionality here to let's, you know, not, you know, disclose this and disclose, and maybe disclose that. Really, it's not. It's just, you know, we can do a better job of communication, we will, and, you know, thank you for pointing that out to us, that it's not getting across in a way, and it causes the public to mistrust us, and that's the last thing anyone here wants. We really do.
And it is no statement to the committee at all. I see all the hard work that these people are doing, and they weren't there when all of this was initially conveyed, so.
And that's the why we're sitting down here. We're not up on the dais or anything. We're trying to build back trust and ensure that we're all on the same page here and can actually all understand what's going on, because everything's easier said than done. And you see it on the map and you see the drawings and stuff, but taking the time to understand it and go through it, it's very complex. And pointing out why the school board made a statement like that, it makes sense inherently, right? There's a lot of confusion on this right now amongst everybody in the town based on what's been going on, and that's where we're trying to come in and confirm about where we're at. And we're just not at that stage for the municipality or the school district in those negotiations and those conversations yet. But when we are at that stage, and if we are able to bring back trust and gain support for a land swap and continue on going forward with trying to achieve a larger plan, because inherently we're not just trying to do this one project either, right? Like that we're going to be like it is wrong to use the final term of the idealist connected school trail, but that was the concepts, and in using it as, looking at just the first phase right now is difficult, because frankly, just looking at the first phase really does nothing. It's a nice expansion of Station Park. It can provide some shoulders security for our students, which as a high schooler who graduated in 2022, I've seen, or 2023, excuse me, I've seen countless students use that shoulder, and countless students park in Station Park to get to high school, and countless students having to, you know, swerve away from groups of 5 walking shoulder to shoulder. And we are looking to address all of this with the help of everybody here, because you're all going to be using it too. This is your infrastructure. This is for future students. And that's us as a committee, and that we were not, with the deadlines, as you saw the dates. We could have done a better job communicating it to all of you about the status, about where we're at, about how this project actually fits into the greater things, so that there wasn't a concept, miscommunication of what phases are we in, what is this greater trail, is it on my property, where's this land swap, who's the agency. That's the last thing that we wanted to do, and being in university right now and learning about all of this, about how this is how projects die and fail, miscommunication. And we have a responsibility, regardless of how we took a responsibility to be on this committee and to try to work for this project. So as chairperson, I appreciate the mayor taking responsibility, but I also take responsibility too, and I apologize for anything or everything that in this particular situation where there's been miscommunication. And I apologize for I wish that this was done in a more appropriate way where you do not have to be wasting your time, not wasting your time, but coming out of your homes, right? This is your Thursday evening. You could be enjoying yourselves at night with your families, but you're here because of
'Cause it's
directly,
important to
exactly,
us.
directly impacting you. And
Yeah.
we want to do it right, and we don't want to leave you all empty-handed.
So you did mention, like, there are a lot of students that do park at Station Park, and there is an established trail between the high school and Station Park.
It's paved.
Oh, yeah, it's paved. It's a nice trail. And they've improved it. I mean, it's a nice trail that connects the two. So what is the need for a second trail from Station Park to West Mountain? I couldn't hear you.
To make one
Make a
a major conversation we heard as well is parents often have students that are in multiple grades, right? So one might be at the high school, one might be at the middle school.
They're talking about the blue.
Yeah, the loop. We'll keep it to the loop. We got to not talk about, she knows I have too many children.
I'm trying to answer the question that was directed, which
Yeah.
was asking about the greater project and
I think I'm sorry, Lane, I think what you mean is they're talking about this phase we're talking about now. Why is it that we want that? I think that would be helpful.
yeah,
This
this-
particular component.
this phase is important because it ultimately will grow into a greater project, but in its current capacity, it provides a direct connection to the middle school, to our Veterans Memorial Fields.
No, so this is Station
Or
Park to West
excuse me,
Mountain.
not the middle school,
Yeah.
the high school location, not the high school itself, the high school location and Station Park location. It will create more interconnectivity to the Veterans Memorial Fields. Inherently, that's the initial concept, correct? Am I wrong with that, Doug?
So
Veterans Memorial Fields.
So that's the
those
fields
high-
behind the
those
bus
fields across the
depot?
street from West Mountain by the bus depot.
Yeah, access to those as well.
Access to those in Station Park area. That's inherently the initial goal.
Okay, so I mean, as right now, with the access that the students have, they use the trail from Station Park to the high school. They cross at the lighted crosswalk at the stadium, and they come up the shoulder on the same side as the bus yard. That is the current traffic path. So are you suggesting there would be a different traffic path?
There will eventually, and that's why you have to think about it in toto.
I'm trying.
And
Can I,
that-
can I-
that's-
can I
and
just
that's-
Please.
Yeah, come on.
Look at it this way. This project has many boxes to check. First one, we're not going anywhere with that from Station Park to West Mountain Road without the Natural Land Trust. So we checked that box. Next box is USDA. We get that box checked. Once we got them on board, we got the two biggest pieces, in my mind, the two biggest hurdles are under our belt. Then we go to the Board of Ed and the township for road reconstruction. To connect, let's call it a wider shoulder, right?
wider shoulder.
Wider shoulder, maybe put everyone on one side, a curb, a guide rail separating pedestrian traffic completely from road traffic, but that's too much at this point. Yeah, there's a bridge, yeah. But we have a 66-foot right-of-way, and so those are the phases. Once we get box checks, I went through like 6 items, right? Once they're all checked, then we can start pricing this thing and start unpacking it and maybe go to construction. But we are a long way from that,
Long way from
from
starting
everything.
construction.
Next question, where would this second trail walk, where would this cross, West Mountain Road? In other words, I'm on this side of the Walk Hill River now, and we're gonna go from Station Park to West Mountain Road. Where is that gonna cross West Mountain Road to go to the middle school?
Right where, there's 2 bike lanes there now, and there's a crosswalk.
At the bottom of the hill.
at the bottom of the hill.
So you're
you-
gonna stay where the
So
crosswalk is?
hypothetically,
What's the purpose of the trail on this side of the walk hill? If you gotta go all the way back down to go across the crosswalk,
ultimately, you can go all the way to the middle school.
but you still gotta go all the way back down the hill, so you already have a path that goes from Station Park.
Okay, all right.
to West Mountain Road.
I have a suggestion.
I'm missing something,
You should, we have a committee.
I'm missing something.
Come join us.
You're the engineer, I'm missing something.
I'm a land surveyor, but you can volunteer to come sit on this board and we'd love to have your
I
suggestions.
volunteer for the fire department, that's enough.
Okay, but it's hard to like address these type of questions until we get to a point that we can actually answer questions.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Sylvester.
Just to get some clarification.
All the red dots are what was set in the
Sure.
field.
Just to get some clarification and try to support what Jen said earlier. Doug, you stated that you went down to the land trust.
Yeah.
To just flow out the concept.
Yeah.
And you had just a
Yeah,
general.
they had a lunch meeting, they invited me to. it
And
was nice.
then you left with some type of concept that is workable, come back, figure it out.
That's what they
And go back
suggested.
to them. You had,
I-
they're not, Sparta has not made application
No,
at this point. Jen, you said you spoke to the land trust
Oh, yeah,
gentleman.
yeah,
or
Jason
you
has
believe-
been.
Jason, yep.
And he says that they passed resolutions and are ready to go.
They said that they unanimously accepted Sparta's, I don't know what the
Proposal.
word they used, proposal, thank you.
So how did they get that far in their process over a concept meeting? Usually they have
Oh,
a
I
set of
went back and forth
procedures,
with
and I
them.
think that's what would help this flow. I'm here to support everybody, the public, and also all your hard work, to lay out procedural outlines. You know, we need to do A, B, C, D, things that are required, almost like a flow chart, to support whether it's this part of it or the other part, the overall comprehensive trail program. And then to support the other comments, how's it's financed and all those other questions. But I think a flow chart, a logic chart outlining out the process would bring a lot of clarity. And I think it would cause, get rid of some of the confusion here. That's the only thing. I've just been
I
listening
will say
today.
internally, that's how we worked. We went
Okay,
through,
then
just
maybe
check the
we need to
boxes,
share that
let's
with the
get
public.
this, let's get this, and then we were at the point where we're gonna bring it to the public.
So from my perspective, the land trust passed a resolution in support of a concept that was just discussed in a meeting, not necessarily formally
I
applied
find-
for or submitted.
I fine tuned
Yeah,
it.
it's not formal
Okay.
until a deed has
That's
been
all. Thank you.
signed.
I
Yeah,
didn't-
yeah. I mean, until a deed is signed, this is simply a concept. It could die tomorrow and there's no liability either way, right? So.
I would like for us to zoom out to the big picture again and why we're doing this. And I recall that this has to do with the master plan and the will of the people. So can we talk about that again?
Sure. I mean, I think I alluded to it at the beginning, which is, there's surveys. You've been on the rec committee for how long? I mean, y'all did a survey, but yeah, and year after year, you hear, we want trails, and then if you look at the most recent survey for the master plan, it was preserve open space, right? So.
And also less traffic.
And less traffic. And so let's say we don't do any trail. This doesn't happen. And we still wind up conveying these 20 some odd acres to New Jersey Land Trust. That's still furthering the number one, because it was the number one priority in the survey that was just done recently, which is to preserve open space. And so if we don't even do this trail, which I really want us to, there's still a goal that we've accomplished, which is now we have this 20-some acres that isn't owned by Sparta Township, it's no longer residential, it's no longer the possibility of being able to be developed into a housing, and that now belongs to New Jersey's Land Trust, whose sole mission it is to preserve it. So I hope we can do this. We're just at the beginning, but even if we don't, and this ends up, we just give this 20-some acres to the New Jersey Land Trust, we've still accomplished one goal. So I think
you.
that,
Preserve open space, walkability, right? Trails. This is what the people have expressed that they want. And improvement to the schools as well, which is we're not talking about that, but thank you. Thank you.
Is that okay? I want to piggyback on that a little bit. First, thank you all for doing this tonight. I know this is a little bit out of the ordinary. So I just want to say thank you because there's been a lot of miscommunication and confusion out there. So I think this is very beneficial for our community, and I'm glad that you guys are here tonight to make these clarifications. I had a whole thing prepared, and I've been checking them off as the meeting is going on. So I just thank you for that. It sounds like I'm thinking the same way the rest of the public is, so that's good. So as a resident who is excited about the idea of having trails for kids and being a parent myself, I personally did some research, listening to a lot of this conversation. So tonight I wanted to come here and share some of that and ask some questions as well. First, I think what was answered, my assumption was the New Jersey Lands Trust was chosen as the independent state agency to swap the land with because that agency already has land in the focus area. Is that fair? Okay. It was touched on about the New Jersey Natural Lands Trust, about it being when it was established and, its mission. I also found that very exciting that they are really focused on preserving land and protecting natural diversity, all of that. To talk more about that, in my research, I found that in 2024 alone, this agency added more than 500 new acres to its already 120 preserves throughout our state. Specifically here in Sussex County, 174 acres of those lands were in Franklin and Hardiston, and that helped connect the wildlife habitats here. Somebody brought up the guidelines, I think it was you, Mrs. Rogoff, about the guidelines for conveyance of land. I found it encouraging information because it specifically in there discourages the conveyance of trust land for any reason, but it can be considered in cases that would yield a significant public benefit and would still have to enhance the preservation of that land. Someone touched on, I think Landon or Doug, you did, the 5 times the conveyance. That's literally in their guidance. So that's not like a made up number or somebody decided that. It's written in their guidance that it was found very easily. The website also has an FAQ that refers to these guidelines and answers the question, how do I know that my land will be permanently preserved? And they refer you back to that guidelines for conveyance of land. So it was really, really heartening to see and encouraging to see that all worked out with this agency. What else? I have a bunch of stuff here and I don't want to take up too much time because I know there's others that want to speak. An important note, which I think was touched on, but I just want to reiterate, the contracts that were discussed, they have to come back in front of the town council in order for that to be approved, right? Like this resolution in a couple of weeks that would be discussed, or ordinance, I forget which one it is just opening the door for those conversations. But I think, Doug, you said it would take probably a year to arrive at the back and forth of a final contract that would be signed. At that,
Hopefully faster, but.
yeah, but at that point,
Yeah.
that has to come back before the town council in order to move forward. So nothing, to clarify that, nothing can be conveyed, even when that contract is drawn up, until the town council
Right.
agrees that those are the terms and conditions, and that is all. So
Town council should sign the deed.
in fact, nothing can be conveyed
And
until
because
that
it has to
happens.
go before us, it has to come before you.
Right.
Meaning you'll get to see it and like I said.
It'll come back.
'Cause I totally get, the Rogoff's point, which is don't be giving my property to the New Jersey Land Trust.
And
I don't
others
want
as
it.
well.
I totally get it. And we'll make sure that, the way that's described in there, that not a blade of grass that belongs to the Rogoffs is going to the New Jersey Land Trust.
By us, Neil means the town council.
One thing I also want to address that was a concern of mine as well, and other members of the public. The Sparta Mountain WMA. As we know, there's been some challenges there. It's another DEP agency, so that makes people go, not sure about that. But that is Fish and Wildlife and the Audubon Society, right? And Fish and Wildlife has a much different mission than the New Jersey Lands Trust, right? The Fish and Wildlife agenda is managing and protecting wildlife species and their habitats through activities like habitat enhancement and population monitoring. Those are two different focuses, right? We're talking about preservation versus managing and protecting wildlife. So that made me feel a little bit better. Hopefully it helps to bring that information to the public as well, because that was a big question for me. To continue, just a few more seconds here. I understand, Sparta's had a trails plan for as early as the 1980s and 90s, and Landon, you could probably speak to that more. And that contemplated connecting trails in Sparta to the larger trail system at Sussex County, right? A few weeks ago, a clear history was explained by the Environmental Commission Chair on how more recent open space planning and surveys again receive feedback from the public on the desire to have more trails in Sparta and also to help our community become more walkable, including to and from schools. As a parent, I would like to have my children have the opportunity to explore our town with a bike or on foot in a safe way. There's currently a trail that connects Lake Mohawk to Mohawk Avenue School, but I think that's as far as it goes. Thinking bigger picture, when I was part of the State Plan Endorsement Committee, I came across a state grant called Safe Routes to School. And I looked that up, and as of 2014, they had awarded over $19 million to communities for projects that enabled kids to have safe ways to get to school. That's a grant. That doesn't come from taxpayers. So thinking about our kids getting around safely doesn't necessarily mean that the onus would be solely on the town to make that happen. So I just want to thank you all for being here tonight, and I think this has come a long way to helping clarify some of these concerns and mistruths and misunderstandings, so thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think, thank you, Kathleen. I think definitely, when we've talked as a committee, we definitely talk about, and I say this to all my committees, figure out what grant money is available. And how do you, and again, how do we not, we have to take the onus off of our township employees, because that's probably why, if we could go hire someone for $50,000 a year to just put them on the trails. We want you to figure it out, get the grant. We're not doing that. We do this as volunteer, but we definitely want to have, grant money. Thank you. And appreciate you pointing out, there are grants and we will be. That's another phase of this, is figuring out, okay, can we get grant money for this? So thank you. Yes.
A couple things. I would advise you all to not do anything until you have a full governing body. Secondly, Doug, question for you. Having been involved in this development of Station Park and discussions at the high school when they were on to put a stadium in the backside, the buffer zones that surround the Walk-Hill River, are they defined on any maps? Because they range from 300 to 150 feet. And that could impact a lot of your plans. So you got to get that resolved with DEP well beforehand. And lastly, nobody on the governing body or this committee can issue a purchase order. Local public contracts law restricts any monies expended or any purchase orders issued by the town to only one or two individuals on the staff. And nobody in the governing body can contract for any goods or services at any time or commit public monies. Just a reminder.
And none has. Yeah, so just to clear that up.
Thank you for the comments.
Yeah, good comments, Jerry. Rick Frankel, I remember when this committee was initially formed, I sat through the first couple meetings, and I remember this is one of the topics, one of the priorities, based on the surveys that came from the rec department. Walkability, interconnection, trails, et cetera. I encourage you guys to move forward. I think there's two key priorities. One is improved communication to the community, especially the property owners in question. And two is just clarifying some of the stakes that were set and some of the boundary lines. But I think this is a great idea, and I encourage you guys to pursue this as soon as possible.
Hope we can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just speaking, before I forget, Is John still here? Yeah, hi, John. Yeah, you were asking why this project. And I would, anybody who wants to know why this was one of the, we have like 4 or 5 projects at the beginning of our meetings that we felt we could actually do for many different reasons. But that sprung from the Open Space and Recreation Committee project that was completed and voted by the planning board and the council to be accepted, that was done by the New Jersey Land Conservancy. So if you look at that, believe it's still online, if you will see that the Land Conservancy makes specific suggestions based on their research. And one of the important things, of course, is keeping Sparta rural, right? Keeping people together and connected, a community, bonding us together with trails and walkability. All of that was considered in this report that's available online. And if you sit down and you look at the suggestions, you'll see that trails like the Iron Horse Trail, the Ogdensburg Trail, and looking closely at connectivity in the school areas was ranked way up there in the suggestions. And you can't keep Sparta rural unless you preserve the land. There's no way that will be able to keep us rural. So, and also, people that I know who have been fortunate, I think fortunate enough to own land that's next to trails like the Sussex Branch Trail, the Pollenskill Valley Trail, the Andover Trail, the values of their property go up. So these are things I would like you to keep in mind. And also, one other thing is that what an opportunity to have a trail, the kids access a trail next to their school. What an ecology lesson for them to walk out there, and they become the teachers then, okay, and the artists and everything, having access, better safe access. Station Park is a great place to walk, but it's no loop. And if you're at the playground with grandkids or whatever, it would be nice to not have to walk through a parking lot with the stroller, but maybe out a little ways and back, to West Mountain at this point, at this stage. And who knows, maybe even further in the future.
I just want to add to that, too, that we have a scout in our troop who's building his eco project that he's going to work on in the spring. It's building an outdoor classroom at the middle school. And the science teacher has agreed to maintain it after he moves on to high school through the science club there. A trail just to extend that, I mean, it's just what an opportunity for those students to, to Christine's point.
Hi, I just wanted to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and especially the committee for spending the time to put this together. And Doug, thank you very much for coming out here. And thanks for taking the time to speak to the deputy mayor and myself today. The reason we voted no is because we hadn't heard anything about it. We didn't understand it, and we wanted to make sure that the interests of all the residents are protected. And it seems like there's been a lot greater education here. I think there are certainly some other things that we have to do. I'd like to make sure that with those deeds, when and if they're ever conveyed, are very, very tight in the restrictions as to what the future use of that land can be. Okay, as we discussed today. So I just really want to thank you all for your time, and thanks for all the effort, and hopefully we can continue this type of discussion going forward. Thank you.
You also mentioned the land that was part of the conveyance in the separate issue. Can we look at that? Which happened to also be at the end of Millstone Court. The land that, the additional acreage that was, it has something to do with the landfill. Can you explain the buffer? There was something there's a lot that has something to, do you know what I'm talking about, Neil? So there's something to do with the buffer. There was buffer for closing the landfill.
Oh, that's separate. Yeah, we don't have any, this committee doesn't have any jurisdiction over that. So I know you're talking about the,
Because I think it actually
no,
is.
I don't think the landfill is a totally separate issue, meaning, when we wanted to close the landfill, there's a certain parcel that we needed.
Right.
For, and so that's not anything we're dealing with here.
But I think it was actually,
This happened, this piece and this piece happen to be part of that.
yeah, they are. So those are,
Yeah, no,
I was just curious, I mean,
yeah. Yeah, no, I think what you're saying is when we were looking at this initially, we had to make sure that we were keeping the land separate. Part of the land had to go for purposes of the DEP, for the wetlands. That's not this, though. We figured that out, and that's not this.
okay, because
Yeah.
that land will join with this that's part of what's going to unite those two preserves, correct?
This is natural land trust, right here. This will be, I think that's natural land trust. This is DEP wildlife management area.
So that's gonna, what was explained to me was that in combination will unite the two preserves. And then the road access actually that they will have, because they had some landlocked pieces. So the road access, should they want to access it, is actually at the end of Old Cedar.
As it is now.
Yeah,
And they come like this. Right off here.
So there's a road access now, but
It's not great. You come off of,
Yeah.
but
it's not Scudder's Lane in
Mhm.
Ogdensburg, whatever it is. It terminates like right
Brooks Flat,
here.
Brooks Flat, Brooks Flat in Ogdensburg.
It terminates like right about here. And that's how this land is at. This is a much bigger piece.
Okay. All right, and in order, we are only talking about that side of West Mountain, but to make this trail the complete picture, can you just give a little bit more information about what happens with that federal easement? Because that is a significant piece of making the next part, and I think that before we move forward with this, we have to, I think that,
That's my next box to check. The uphill battle. Pretty restricted.
so
To me, I need to get in there and my feet. I have a great working relationship. I do so much open space acquisition. That's
Can you just explain maybe the timeline if this phase got done, then what would that look like?
In a
And then
week or two, I can probably get and have a site. Very optimistic. Just saying, like, that's a hurdle right now, but that's next for me.
Well, yeah, all of that's on hold until we can get this started, and then, hopefully we can, and then we'll.
The land that's going for the landfill, okay? Who gets that land that we're gonna convey over? Does it go to these people?
Yeah, that's natural land trust as well.
Okay, so the conservator, same people get what's going for the capping of the online landfill. They get that, so is that part of this here?
One piece.
it connects it together. It's a separate.
It's a separate transaction.
Separate transaction.
Yeah.
It's Walk Hill, what is it called, Walk Hill Preserve?
Yeah.
Walk Hill Preserve
It's part of trying to
and the Sterling.
make these
So,
things all
all right,
fit
hold
together.
on. So the parcel you're talking now, the 5 times 1 to whatever the heck it is. But we're getting 5 acres over at the Price's Lane landfill, 77 acres, correct?
Something like
It's
that,
something
right?
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's 17 to 1, Rich.
Yeah, it's a stupid number.
Yeah.
Where is that land on that map?
Well, there's just one piece, or these two pieces.
Okay, so it's all coming together, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we still don't have the approval for the landfill, correct?
I think the contract's signed. I'm working on surveys.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, I think it's there.
It's only been sitting open for 40+ years. Wide open, uncapped landfill. Did great.
Is there anyone in the public who wasn't able to ask a question? Yes. We want to make sure everyone gets a chance to use the microphone and ask.
Board of Education is not involved yet, right?
Not yet.
This first phase would only benefit the school, the students, right? The residents would not be able to use that trail.
Everyone can use it.
But you can't walk onto the,
I mean,
school
within
property
certain
between
hours,
the hours of
yeah.
8 and 5.
Right.
That's how that works.
So it's strictly for the students, right?
Oh, no, this wouldn't be on school property.
Not
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the actual first phase, the loop that would go
It's
from
not on school
station.
property.
In order to make the loop, you would have to walk through the high school.
Oh,
You're not
yeah,
doing-
for
you're
the
not
loop,
doing
but that's
right
for the
in the
kids.
school
The loop concept, I
So I'm
think,
saying
is
this
for the kids.
phase 1 is strictly for the school students, right?
No, anybody can use it outside of school hours, to your point.
Right.
Yeah. For
And the school hours are 8 to 5.
Yeah, not really, but yeah.
Yeah, 'cause we got kicked off school property.
Yeah.
So it's strictly to,
Within those hours, just within those hours.
Because there are holes in the ground that said,
you can't walk high school property.
No, you can't. You can't walk right. You can't go on school grounds. Weekends, holidays.
Just
summer,
time it's not
summer.
limited hours.
Benefit to the residents.
This is not a needed problem. Can't go to school property.
Yeah, and that's school board policy, Sat. Like that's something that something that the school board district has as their policy. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it feels public. It's just, I think, just so I make sure I understand your concern. Your concern is, okay, if you have this loop, the loop is only good between certain hours, you know, and that's, and I get it, but we still are able to use it. I mean, well, we're not even at the money phase yet, and I think that, and the whole idea here is to make this, yeah, and this,
Start thinking ahead, maybe there's a better way of doing that trail system somewhere else than, having a benefit to the residents on weekends after spending all this money and
We don't
paying
even know
all
how much money though.
there's no money being spent. Yeah. Well, yeah, but I think as Kathy pointed out, there's grant money for this, and I think I mentioned this at the last meeting. Like, the whole idea is to try not to make, sure, can you let me finish? Thank you. Is to be able to make this as cost neutral as possible. I mean, we're gonna try to get grant money, trying to do ways to do it. We don't, pardon?
If the cost is going to be too much, then the project's not going to go forward.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't just, yeah, all of this, as Councilman Scott pointed out, like, there's,
Connecting middle school to the West Mountain. If that's gonna be for the kids to use it, there's gonna be poles put in, no public is allowed to walk between 8 and 5.
I don't know that. I don't, that's something that we will be addressing with the school board when the time comes for that. And we're not there yet. And I think that's,
How can we decide on something that we don't have many answers to?
you have an answer for, we use that property and there are people who walk on that property all the time, should they? Probably not. But I think that for the other reasons that we pointed out, the accessibility, the ability to have the loop, and like I said, at the end of the day, I hope that's not all we get from this, is that we take land and preserve it. So let's say we don't do any trail at all. We now have 27 acres that is sitting there right now that Sparta Township owns, that theoretically could be developed, that doesn't have the same restrictions that the New Jersey Land Trust has. It does not. And we can build into the deed that we hammer out to have all the concerns that people are having, no clear cutting, all those things. That doesn't exist right now with the land that the Sparta Township owns. So and that furthers the number one priority that the public has said over and over again is to preserve open space. Right now, that property that that we're considering conveying is not, it's not as preserved open space as it would be if the New Jersey Land Trust owned it. So we would be furthering that goal. So even if we don't even do the trail at all, which I hope we do, I hope that doesn't happen, we now have at least knocked off that one goal. So that's the benefit.
Give it away, why couldn't you just change the zoning on it? And make it open space. There it is, boom, done. You got your master plan people in place, just change it.
Because that's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to use it to swap and to build the trail.
But the trail's gonna be limited because you can't.
We're not at that stage right now for that. That's the difficulty with a project of this stature, as well as the multiple phases that we're in, and then sadly the miscommunication that developed at first. So that's on our end.
We don't know yet. We're not there yet. We don't know yet.
That's how those, I'm sorry, that's, you know, that's how, we're doing the best we can based on, we're taking it phase by phase.
You know, you're telling us it's gonna be a loop for everyone to walk around. It's, you know, people are gonna be riding their bikes. No, we won't. It's only weekends and after 5 o'clock is dark already. Who's gonna be using it? Who's gonna be using that loop?
Cross-country teams.
At 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Would it be possible for you to explain the difference between the school property and the proposed trail that would be part of the loop, but the trail, the new trail that would be accessible at all hours, if I'm not mistaken, as opposed to the loop piece, correct? There is a part of the trail, the new piece of the trail will be accessible at all hours, correct? Dawn to dusk?
West Mountain to Station
Correct?
Park.
Can you clarify that for the room?
How many feet Station Park to West Mountain? If that's the only part we can use.
1,200.
About 1,200.
But that's the
feet,
part
yeah,
we're
it's
talking
yes.
about here tonight, right? The school's still there, it's always there.
Yeah.
We're not able to talk about further phases yet, sadly. We're not at that stage.
Let's call it West Mountain to Station Park.
Yeah, but it's a loop that does not involve school property, so you would be able to use that at all hours. Right, the property that we're talking about, right now that we're acquiring from the New Jersey Land Trust and part of it, it's not owned by the school.
You guys called it middle school to high school trail. Now we're leaving that whole middle school out.
For now.
Let's call it Station Park to West Mountain.
So
We're-
it's literally West Mountain to Station Park. That's all it is.
For now.
We can't have 5 things up for vote at once. That's the problem. We're not, well, that's why, please, just once, that's why some of these other projects have never actually manifested, because municipalities and counties have taken the stature of, we don't want to piecemeal a trail. We want to get all 5 miles, all 6 miles done at once, and it falls apart though. It never gets done. And as taxpayers, you were under the assumption it was going to get done and advertised in these brochures that you're going to have access to these trails, and you never did. So we're trying to find out what's best to do, because if we put all of our eggs in our basket and we don't piecemeal it bit by bit, we risk doing all of the work for years and having it all fall apart at the end. We have to, sadly, even though it's difficult and on our end, we're going to do our best to make sure the communication is as crystal clear, as well as notice about our meetings, communication with Environmental Commission and Rec Committee, about just to make sure that there's a common consensus about how this works. And I know we're getting late, so I want to try to make sure everyone who has some final questions can make sure they can.
That's why, again, this is for my clarification. Neil, or Doug, when you, assume this went through, you went to do the land swap, are the trails, the construction and the completion of the trail subject to that legal transaction, or is the land swap done first and the trails are done separate? Are they tied as a kind of deliverable to the transaction real estate deal, or are they separate?
Township would have to own the property and fee before.
So once they flip, then the trail is still on us.
Start doing the trail.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's not, so then my question is the purpose of this to really just land bank, land trust these parcels, or is it, what is the main purpose? You're gonna say probably both, I get it, but which one's the main
We
purpose?
can't build a
Is it to
trail
build
if we
trail
don't own, yeah,
or
yeah.
preserve the land
We can't, so so we can't build a trail if we don't own the land where the trail's gonna go, right? So first we gotta, no, well, the main purpose is to build the trail. Yeah, is to build the trail.
Land swapping and securing and preserving.
Well, what I was trying to, yeah, and I understand where the confusion is. What I was trying to do is try to, I'm a worst case scenario person. And so the worst case scenario, worst thing that happens in this endeavor, we swap the land, right? And no trail gets built. What I was trying to convey to the woman in the back was that what would happen then, worst case scenario, is we now have the New Jersey Land Trust, and we have a built-in deed that is very restrictive, that says you can't do basically anything to this land. And so the worst case scenario is that land that these homeowners have come to look at and enjoy and have some degree of confidence that a housing development is going to just show up in their backyard, now have an extra degree of confidence because now it's owned by the New Jersey Land Trust. That's what my point was. That's not the ultimate goal of what we're doing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone else from the public who, are you referring to? Yeah, I mean, our agenda was essentially dictated around this trail conversation.
So we have just regular business that we have just minutes to approve. But I want to make sure no one leaves here. If they have a question, speak now, forever hold your peace till the next meeting. So we've taken up close to 2 hours tonight, and I appreciate everyone, coming out. And like I said, we will endeavor to communicate better with you, and we totally understand while there was concern, and that lies, part with me about, and I get it, and just know that we're trying to do the best we can here. We're really excited about this possibility of really accomplishing something that, has been talked about but never really executed upon, and we're trying to do that. And we look forward to being able to talk to you about these other trails that we have that we'd like to do, the Ogdensburg's one, the Iron Horse Trail. We'd like to be able to do those as well, and and we'll bring the public with us along the way, because I think once you see it and you'll be pretty excited about it as we are. I mean, why else would we devote the time that we have if we're not? But this is hard work. It's a lot of work to do, and I want to thank Doug for lending his professional expertise at no cost to the township whatsoever. We were really indebted to him for that, and thank you, and thanks for everyone for coming out. And we'll the next step really is to see if we can get a resolution passed to start the process of contracting with the New Jersey Land Trust, and definitely as that contracting process goes forward, Councilman Scott will definitely be brought in and to make sure that all council, Councilman-elect Sylvester, who's here, he will know about what the proposed terms are, and then the public will know once it's an actual contract. We're not allowed to share contract negotiation if it's not finalized yet, but you'll know the contract, and like I said, we'll make sure that it has the protections that the public wants.
I don't know if we have minutes on the agenda particularly, so we might have to just hold that for the next meeting and do both the minutes, unless you had it. You have it? Okay,
That's fine.
I think that's better. All right.
What is it called? Yeah, we've already been, but not, oh yeah, the grant money. That was part of, there'll be, within the trails that we're talking about today, the construction and maintenance, yes, we recognize that. But we're not at the level yet to say what that construction is gonna be. Yeah, so, I think in line of that, like, again, we can't really schedule a meeting until we know Because I think really for us, it's like, let's see where we are with being able to start hammering out a negotiation.
You mentioned the trail sign.
Oh, yeah, we should mention that. So who-
That was Angie,
Yeah, this was Neil Sarawines here from the Environmental Commission. This was part of the Environmental Commission. You could probably speak a little bit more too about the history, maybe if you want to.
They made this possible, so I want to. Yeah.
But this was a part of. If you want to maybe speak with, yeah.
Yeah, we were able to get a grant from Sustainable Jersey for,
2000.
for the plaque at the landing. What's the name of it?
Yonkers
Yo-
Landing.
Yonkers Landing, yes. Yeah, okay, that's, and they haven't started the 2026 grant cycle yet. We have two organizations, ANJEC and Sustainable Jersey, that have grants, small, medium, and large grants that we can apply for. So once we know, once they start the next cycle, we can apply for hopefully a large grant to get this done. And there are other sources too. There's a county open space funding. I don't know if we'd be able to get any of that, but, there are other sources.
They created a position, it says county, the new open space director, Joel, trying to remember his name. Yeah, Joel, no,
Not familiar.
no, that's quiet. He gave me his card, I met him in the field.
Oh, okay, good. Good.
Way, it's great, because now you have someone that really wants to, that's their sole objective.
Yeah, and
Great.
and I think you're gonna start hearing from other townships. I was at the mayor's meeting about 2 weeks ago, where all the mayors are there, and there's other townships that are trying to, do trails. And I think the great idea is that the county will get involved, and so we have complete interconnectivity. And that's what kind of sold me on it when I first met Landon. Is he's like, look, there's a way that you can have a trail from almost Sparta all the way down to
The Appalachian Trail in Sussex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the way to Sussex.
Mhm.
But, you have to dream big to do that, and that's kind of, but how do you get there? You have to do it. It gets this tedious, right? And we're just talking this little part of it.
Right,
you
right.
know?
I know, I've spoken to one of the members of the Alamuti Environmental Commission. They're trying to build a trail network too, and their goal is to connect everything, so that's,
They're doing really well up there.
yeah,
But yeah,
Near Kurt Derek's place.
yeah.
thank you, the Environmental Commission, for helping us be able to, there'll now be a usable sign that you can use.
I just need to, if someone left a question on the seat next to me, I'll just pass it to the chairman. I don't know that you have to address it tonight, but it was just something you put on the seat.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. All right. So I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn then from the. All right. Is there a second?
Favor say
All
aye.
in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you all for
Thank
coming.
you, everyone.
Time is 8:51. Yeah, with us. Watch the hot mics. Yeah. Great job, everyone. I appreciate it.